Do you feel as though your feelings are dismissed more often than not by your spouse? If there was a book title about your marriage, would it be titled Do As I Say, Not As I Do? Meaning that you have to follow all these rules in the marriage, but your spouse seems to not have to follow any of them? Does your spouse have a tendency of playing that one game, the blame game, and you happen to be responsible for anything that happens to go wrong ever in the marriage, and they take no blame or responsibility whatsoever? If this sounds familiar to you in any way, shape, or form, you may be married to a narcissist, and you can't miss this video. Hi friends, I'm glad to be back today. And today I'm talking about narcissism, but more specifically, the signs that indicate that you're married to a narcissist. Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to be discussing 12 specific signs. Yes, there's a lot more, but we're going to really focus on 12 on today's video. So let's start. The first sign, the blame game. Definitely not my favorite game. The blame game means that everybody is guilty but them. Everybody is responsible but them. So anytime anything goes wrong, period, in the story, in the marriage, it's your fault. Okay? Because they don't take responsibility for really much of anything, especially anything that's not perfect. So if you found yourself constantly being blamed, this might indicate that you're married to a narcissist. Also think about this and take it a step further. When folks are constantly blamed over and over again, they begin to think that they are the person that's doing these wrong things. And as they think that way, they begin to internalize that blame and begin to blame themselves for everything as well. So if you found yourself kind of going down that road, you might want to become more mindful and aware of what you're being blamed for, and then become very aware of when you're internalizing that blame and internalizing that anger onto you about something that you might not have even done. The second sign, they are always right. They're always right. Everything they do is amazing, okay? They walk on water. That's the key here, is that they have this huge, lofty sense of self, that they're kind of better than anybody else to some degree, okay? And we know deep down, a narcissist is really struggling with self-esteem issues. But on the surface, they appear bigger than life. So in that type of case and scenario, they're always going to be right, especially in their own mind. The third sign, image is the most important thing. It's about how you make them look in front of other people. Okay. Image trumps everything. You could be having the biggest massive blowout fight in all of your marriage, okay? But when you show up to meet for dinner with all the other couples at the restaurant, you're having the best time of your life. Image is everything. You'll find that your narcissistic mate loves social media as well for the most part, if they're on social media. They like to show off their family. They like to show you off, especially when you're looking your best. If you're not looking your best, they're not going to be taking a picture because they really don't want anybody to know that they are with you. So definitely image is king. The fourth sign, selfishness. It's all about them, okay? They think about themselves first. You might be second or third on the totem pole because it depends on where they put their career and the children and the car and all that stuff, because really it's them and you're in their world, okay? Actually, it's their world and you're in it. And so when you think about it that way, you begin to realize that when they do think about you, it's usually a secondary thought. And if they actually do get you something, and it's not all the time, but for the most part, if they do, they're going to want something back in return, okay? That's what selfish people do. So remember, they're thinking about themselves first, and then everything else is secondary, including you. The fifth sign, they're bossy. They're constantly telling you what to do because they know what's right for everybody. Remember, they're better than us, and they can tell us what we should be doing, what we're doing wrong. Oh, they're really good about telling you what you're doing wrong, okay? So it could be the way that you fold socks, okay? It could be the way that you're parking in the driveway. It could be the way you're running your company, okay, that you've created from the ground up. Apparently, you don't fire people right. Whatever that is, okay, remember that. They're going to tell you what to do because their way is the best, and it's their way or the highway. The sixth sign, they have a tendency of putting you down and making you feel not good enough. Well, I don't know about you, but it's really difficult to spend time with someone who's constantly putting you down about almost everything and still keep your wits about you and keep your self-esteem and self-worth. It's close to impossible. I mean, you can have a really good feeling within yourself and you can refocus yourself on a constant basis, but the more and more you hear negative comments about yourself, the more and more somebody's putting you down, it's really hard to keep that going. So a lot of times when you're living with a narcissist, you're probably not feeling really good about yourself. You might have a tendency of questioning yourself a lot, like, am I making the right decision? Am I making the right choice? Because you've been questioned often by your spouse, but also either made fun of or put down for maybe possible not so good choices that you've made, and it makes you question every step of the way from then on out. So being very aware of that and mindful is key to working to get that inner gut back aligned so you can begin to make solid decisions and not question yourself on every decision you make. The seventh indication, they use manipulation to get what they want. Okay, we all know manipulation are lies. When people manipulate you, it's not being truthful or honest. They're manipulating you to try to get something from you, for you to agree with them, for you to do something for them. Okay? And so one of the biggest tools in the toolbox for the narcissist is manipulation. So a lot of times when we're being manipulated, we might not even know it. I mean, because some people are really, really good at it. And, a lot of times, though, too, when you're married to the situation, you don't really want to recognize the fact that your husband or wife is a full-on narcissist. That's not the thing that you go, oh, yeah, look what I got. I won the lottery this time. No, and so a lot of times we don't even like to act like that exists. We want to, that's really not what it is, and I'm putting too much thought into this. But remember, when you feel a little awkward about something, or you're being talked into something, and you feel like it's like invading your boundaries or invading your values or your belief system, really step back for a second and ask yourself, what's happening here? Okay, because a lot of times when you're in the group and you've been married for a long time, and you've been around this person a long time, it feels normal, but normal and healthy are two different things. So if you feel like something's off, if you feel like you're being played with or toyed with or manipulated, then you probably are. The eighth sign is that they feel as though everybody's after them, okay? Paranoia. They get very paranoid. They feel like everybody wants something from them. Everybody's trying to get one over on them. Everybody's trying to take advantage of them, trying to take something from them. I have many clients that I'm seeing currently that their husband or wife is a narcissist. And it's interesting the amount of folks who the spouse that's a narcissist is in litigation with. And I'm not saying that every litigation is not is good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying in this particular situation, the narcissistic spouse feels that the people they've done work with or this person is out to get them. And so there's a lot of litigation around them. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of mistrust. And so that's something that you really want to see and look at if you're married to a narcissist, is that they can be constantly talking about how other people are out to get them. They might have quite a bit of enemies in their eyes. And you might not even understand it because from a distance it doesn't look like a big deal, but they feel as though everybody's trying to attack them. And so it's something that you might be dealing with in your marriage right now. The ninth sign, and this is directly affecting your children if you have children in the marriage. The children are constantly working for mom or dad's approval, and they're coming up short. So if mom or dad is a narcissist in the marriage, the kids are vying for their attention, vying for their love so much, jumping through those hoops to try to get that spouse's approval, their mom or dad's approval, And what happens is they feel like they can't do enough. And they're always coming up short. And I've seen it so often because what happens is that the kids grow up in this environment and then they go through the process of meeting other people in their life and they're constantly looking for that approval from other people. Do you see what I'm saying? And so it's a cycle. And so if you have children right now and you realize that your spouse is a narcissist, you're going to need to sit down eventually and have a conversation with your kids because otherwise they're never going to feel worthy because they're always going to wonder why mom or dad doesn't show them that they love them. They're always going to wonder why they never get the approval and why they're just not good enough. The 10th sign, control. And control is their middle name. It's not Bond, it's not James Bond, it's control. Control is it. Okay, and so the concept is that they're constantly wanting to control everyone, everything. If you have children, they want to control the kids. They want to control you, okay? What you do, how you feel, what you think about things, right? Because their thought process, their actions are tops, okay? And they also don't have control of themselves. So the mystique is that they look like they're all in control, right? They're not. The narcissist feels so out of control internally. That's why they're trying to control everybody around them. It's the little known fact. And so by them trying to control you, they feel like they have more control in their life. When they try to control the kids, which they do a very good job of because kids automatically fall into that, except for the rebellious kid that you get one of those every 3 or 5 that just don't give a crap, you know what I'm saying? And they'll run right over mom or dad. But for the most part, kids follow their parents, okay? And they'll do what their parent says. And so if dad or mom is controlling those kids, okay, the interesting part about it is they can't control themselves, but they use that control to control their environment around them. And it's a narcissist calling card, definitely something that you want to look at because this is a really big red flag. Because one of the things that I'm a big proponent of is freedom. You got to have freedom in a relationship, okay? And when you feel controlled and you feel micromanaged, that's not a relationship. That's like a bad job. So think about this when you're looking at your marriage and deciding if you are married to a narcissist. Number 11, they need constant validation and admiration. So constant validation, constant admiration, they want to be validated at all costs, okay? Pat on the back, excellent job, you're amazing, you know everything, you're so smart, because they need that. Because remember, at the core of the narcissist, very little self-esteem. Very little self-worth, okay? This is all a facade. This is all to keep people out. This is all to keep people at bay, right? This is like the big castle door. It's all smoke screens and mirrors, right? It's all illusion. That's what it is. They believe it. See, they believe this illusion, right? Some part of it, some parts maybe not. We can talk about that in another video, but think about that. Constant validation is needed because they need to be boasted up, okay? They need to be feeling great and on top of the world. And so if you're there to boast the narcissist, things are great, but when you stop doing that, well, I think you've seen a difference in your spouse if they are a true narcissist, if you're not boasting them and validating everything they're doing because they need constant reassurance. And last but not least, one of my favorite subjects, boundaries. Number 12, boundaries. What boundaries? A narcissist doesn't have boundaries, okay? There is no boundaries. They're in charge. It's their game. It's their world, and you're just living in it. It's almost like you're an item or a fixture or a thing, okay? And they can kind of move you around the board game that's called life. You know what I'm saying? And it's interesting because with living with the narcissist, normal, healthy boundaries do not exist. The fact that you have your own emotions and you're allowed to have your own feelings, nope, not allowed. And if you do have them, they need to be changed to this other person's thoughts and feelings, okay? Because they're going to what? Make fun of you or discredit or dismiss your feelings if they're not what they think that they should be, right? Another thing that the narcissist does is that if you're doing something that they deem as not right or not smart or not the best way of doing something, okay? It could be, like I was saying earlier, like how you run a company to the way you fold socks. They're going to jump in and tell you how it should be run, okay? So remember, when you're living in this dynamic, it's like the lines are all blurred. Okay, there's no specific where this is where my life is. I have this ability. This is the power that I have in my life, and this is what I'm working on. They're constantly in and out of everything that you're doing, okay? Because you're just kind of a part of their life. And I don't think that a lot of people realize that to the degree that you have to realize it when you're dealing with someone with full-on narcissism, because that's kind of the way that it goes. And so for you to be able to have your own boundaries, you have to be solid and firm. And more often than not, there were no boundaries coming into this relationship. And so encouraging those or creating that can be very tough. It's not impossible at all, but can be very challenging. So at this point in the video, you're probably like, well, you know what? After I've listened to this, my wife or my husband really isn't a narcissist. Woohoo! Well, that's a good thing. And for some of you might be listening right now and say, okay, cat out of the bag, I'm dealing with a narcissist. And that's okay. It's not the end of the world, okay? It's not the end of the world at all. But now you're beginning to know what's really happening under your roof, right? Because when we don't know what's going on in our own household, when we don't understand our own spouse, things can be really challenging. And so right now we're just taking off the masks. We're just removing the illusion from the marriage. That's all we're doing. It's like, don't worry about it right now. We'll walk through the steps of the things you can do to make changes in your marriage. But right now, if you've identified this as your marriage, and this is consistent to what you deal with on a day-to-day basis, then you know what you're dealing with right now, and now we have to move into the solution phase. So don't miss the following video on dealing with your narcissistic wife/husband. It would be very interesting, and it'll offer solutions that you can do right then and there to begin helping your marriage. If you like this video, please click like on the video, and please share with your friends and family and coworkers. As well, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. And if you have subscribed, well, please stay subscribed, because we really like the fact that you're here in the community. Thank you. If you have a comment to make on this video and you'd like to add some of the red flags that you found in your own marriage and some other guideposts and signs that really allowed you to realize that you were married to a narcissist, please add these, because the more information we have here, remember, knowledge is power. And so it helps all of us. And I appreciate your comments. I hope this video has helped, and don't forget to live your true life.